Hello friends, this video on biological classification part 2 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam failure. So after some time came up a classification which was known as the two kingdom classification. This was given by Linnaeus. So Linnaeus introduced this two system or two kingdom classification looking at the failure of Aristotle's classification. So what did he try to do? He kept it very simple. He just introduced two kingdoms. One is plantae and the other one is animalia. So he said that whatever living organisms exist on this earth, they have to fall under one of these categories. One is plant, the other one is animals. Now, in the kingdom Plantae, all sorts of plants were included, be it cactus, be it grasses, be it tall, big trees, or be it the aquatic plants. So, all sorts of plants were made to fall under this category Plantae. And Animalia would include all animals, starting from a lion, tiger, elephant to microorganisms like bacteria, viruses, fungi, or the aquatic animals or human beings. So everything will fall under this category Animalia. So that was given by Linnaeus. So now, was this successful? Even this mode of classification was also a failure. And the primary reason for failure was that the organisms which exist on this earth are not only huge in number, but also they are very, very diverse. They are very different from each other. So what was the basis of this two kingdom classification? I mean, why did Linnaeus divide everything into two groups, plant and animal? Because he thought plants are immobile, they prepare their own food with the help of sunlight and with the help of the green pigment called chlorophyll. Whereas, on the other hand, animals, they are mobile. They can move from one place to another. They cannot prepare their own food. When I say cannot prepare their own food, I do not mean cooking the food. I mean to say, for example, if you consider human beings, what do we eat? We eat either vegetables or fruits or meat, fish or something. So that means we are dependent on some other organism for our food. But for plants, they are not dependent on anyone. They can prepare their own food in presence of sunlight. So because of these two major differences, Linnaeus thought of dividing the living organisms broadly into these two groups, because the differences between these two groups were huge. So he thought, let's divide organisms into these two categories. Now let us see what were the drawbacks of this two kingdom classification that made it a failure. Now, first of all, there was no distinction between eukaryotes and prokaryotes. We all know what is a eukaryote and what is a prokaryote by now. But still, just for a review, eukaryote are those organisms in which their cells will have the specific cell organelles. I mean, all the cell organelles. When I say cell organelles, I am talking about the Golgi apparatus, the mitochondria, lysosomes, and all those stuff. So all those stuffs will be present distinctly. So those are eukaryotes. Prokaryotes means there will be no defined cell organelles. So inside the cell, you will not see the different organelles distinctly. So they are prokaryotes. So now with this kind of division, that is the two kingdom classification, you do not know which organism is a prokaryote and which organism is a eukaryote, because we are not bothered about the structure of that organism. We are only bothered about whether it is a plant or it is an animal. That's it. I mean, whether it resembles more to a plant or it resembles more to an animal. So whichever it resembles more, we will just put it into that group. So we are not bothered about whether it is a eukaryote or prokaryote. Similarly, we are not bothered about whether it is a unicellular or multicellular, whether that organism is made up of one cell or multiple cells. So it will happen that we will end up putting eukaryotes and prokaryotes in the same group, or we might also end up putting unicellular and multicellular in the same group. Now, when I am saying in the same group, we expect that organisms in the same group will have a lot of similarities. So now just imagine if two organisms, one is unicellular and the other one is multicellular, and if both of them are in the same group, do you think that they are going to share any similarities? No, right? Because when the organism is made up of one cell, so the entire process and the entire life cycle of that organism changes completely. So a unicellular and multicellular distinction should be there. Similarly, a eukaryotic and prokaryotic distinction has to be there. There was no distinction between photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic. So in this case, there was no consideration given to the cell structure or the number of cells present in an organism or the food habit. Secondly, many organisms didn't belong to any of the two kingdoms, like bacteria, fungi, viruses. So it was also seen that there were some organisms which resembled neither the plants nor the animals. So they were either forcefully made to enter a particular group, or they were just lying outside. They were neither into plants nor into animals. So because of these major limitations, the two kingdom classification was again a flop. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.